Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Quinn.
Author, jewelry specialist Elizabeth Bray was born in Westport, Connecticut, and graduated from Carnegie Mellon University. She obtained a graduate gemology degree from the Gemology Institute of America in New York. And did you go to the Gemology Institute before you worked for Christie's Auction House?
Yeah, I did.
Did you have to?
Yeah, you know what, it was very helpful because then I could know about the stones that I was looking at and I could identify the gemstones, diamonds.
Different kinds.
Mm-hmm.
Did you already knew about jewelry though, before you went to the GIA?
Not really, actually. When I graduated from college, I really didn't know what I wanted to do, and I ended up getting a job working at a diamond dealer, a wholesale diamond dealer.
You did?
Yeah, and I really liked seeing the stones and the diamonds. It was really interesting. So I found out about this gemology program, and I went ahead and did it.
But there's a Gemology Institute in LA and one in New York, right? Mm-hmm. Are the offices different? Do they teach the same way? What would be the difference?
Yeah, I think the program is the same, although I went down to the Carlsbad location, which is so fantastic and nice and has ocean views, and I was stuck in a classroom in New York City in the Diamond District, so it was not as glamorous, I think.
It wasn't always in Carlsbad, though. They moved down there to that beautiful area.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. How long is the course?
It's only 6 months, but it's very intensive, and it's about 7 weeks of just diamonds every day, just looking at them, grading them, and then the rest of the class is colored stones and identifying gemstones.
Why do they spend so much time on diamonds?
Just because they're complicated, and there's a lot of fake diamonds out there, and you really need to know how to grade them and categorize them.
Talking about fake diamonds, what are those fake diamonds called?
There's cubic zirconia, there's something called moissanite that's new. There's a lot of fake diamonds. There's just rhinestones.
But the ones that are really the closest to diamonds, mm-hmm. And they're not diamonds, but they last and they look great, don't mm-hmm. they? I mean, they don't lose their luster, mm-hmm. do they? Mm-hmm. Like a CV, does it lose its luster?
No.
Or CZ, I should say.
Yeah.
Does it?
No, they're great. I mean,
how
I have
long
a pair.
Will they last?
They'll last forever.
And they'll keep the shine and everything?
Yeah, I have a pair of CZs that I like to wear because...
And do they sparkle all the time?
They sparkle, and you would never know. Yeah, you would never know.
But unless you tested them, right?
Right.
Well, what are the specific things that you have to know for an auction house? When you go to work at an auction house, do they expect you to know certain things about jewelry?
Well, it was funny. When I went in for my interview at Christie's, they brought out 2 huge velvet trays filled with jewelry, piled with the most amazing pieces of diamond jewelry you can ever imagine. And part of my interview, they said, take each piece out and put it in chronological order of when the pieces were made. And I was trembling, picking up these $100,000 diamond encrusted pieces, not knowing really what I was looking at, but at least I could identify the stones. But I learned most of the history of jewelry while working at Christie's, and I was there about 8 years.
It was like on, but what happened? Separating those stones like that. Did you know what you were doing?
I talked it out. I thought some things looked older than others. I could kind of identify Art Deco. Yeah, I just muddled through it, and they hired me. So.
And when you were actually working at Christie's, where do you find the jewels?
Christie's is such a big name that a lot of people just come to Christie's with pieces. So we would get calls all the time, all day long, phone calls from people who had pieces that, didn't know what to do with them. So it was always a surprise. You never knew what you were going to see. People would make appointments, and then you'd go and meet with them, and they would say, oh, I have a diamond ring, and you'd go down, and it would be a CZ, and you'd have to break the bad news. Or
is that right? That kind of thing?
Yes.
And you could tell right away if it was a CZ.
Yeah, and that was always...
But you could tell, but how could we tell? Because you were just saying they're brilliant, they last forever, they look great.
Right, you can't...
And if they steal, if they're lost, then you're not in such bad shape.
Right.
And the whole idea is really just flash, isn't it?
Mm-hmm, bling.
With the diamond bling.
Yeah, you can't, you really can't tell unless you're a gemologist or you have a diamond tester.
So, you stayed at Christie's for a long time?
Yeah, I was there about 8 years. My husband's work took us to Chicago. I worked for Christie's in Chicago.
Oh, you did?
And then my husband's work took us to Los Angeles, and I worked out in the Beverly Hills office for about a year and a half until I had my daughter. And then I decided that the traveling, because I was doing appraisals in 1 minute in Phoenix and San Francisco. And
oh, you would go all over doing appraisals from your office? Oh, I see.
So it was too much travel with the baby. So, and I had the book. I was working on this book.
You were working on the Flato book at that time? How did you choose Flato, Jeweler to the Stars, which is why we're talking to you today, really?
Yeah, while working at Christie's, I would see the Flato pieces come up very regularly at auction. There'd be maybe 1 or 2 pieces every sale, and there was never any information about him. The pieces got a lot of buzz. People were excited about them. They sold for a lot of money, but there was no information on him. So I began to do a little bit of research, and I went to the New York Public Library. At that time, I was working and living in New York. And I found out that in 1943, at the height of his fame, Flato was sentenced to prison at Sing Sing.
We all knew that, but why? Yeah.
Yeah, it was really kind of shocking. He, like a lot of creative genius types, he had big ideas, and he was very charismatic, and he had a lot of amazing clients, and great ideas, but he couldn't manage his finances, and he began to get into greater and greater debt. And to cover his debt, he began to pawn jewelry that he had borrowed from other jewelers for cash.
Like real jewelry.
Real jewelry.
That was it.
Yeah.
And so you were researching at the library, but then did you talk to people who owned his jewels?
Yeah, I met a lot of collectors who had been obtaining his pieces over the years, and then I found his 2 living daughters in Texas, and went down there and stayed with them for a week, and they had amazing journals and drawings and family photographs. All of his.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it was a real treasure trove.
Really? And were they willing to talk to you?
They were really excited that I was, interested in his legacy and learning about him and his designs.
You were still at Christie's at the time, I guess, or had you just left?
Yeah, I think I was still at Christie's at that point.
So they knew that you were on the up and up, right? When you came down, did they own any of his jewelry?
They did. They had a few pieces from kind of his later period, which was like the 1970s, 1980s, when at that time he was actually 70, 80 years old. He was still designing jewelry. But his daughter gave me these earrings.
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
And these are real?
These are, 18 karat gold, and they are called the Whispering Cherubs. And they were designed in the 30s, but he had them, these were probably remade in the 70s. And they're supposed to be worn so that the cherub turns into your ear and whispers.
Oh, whispering cherubs.
Yeah.
That's so great.
Yeah.
He was very whimsical, wasn't he?
He was.
And he had a huge following of society ladies.
He did, society ladies and Hollywood. He had a lot of people from this Hollywood golden era owned his pieces and were huge fans of his work.
How long did it take you to write this book?
It took about 4 years.
And what is this on the cover? It's so beautiful.
Yeah, isn't that an unbelievable piece? That is an aquamarine and ruby belt buckle necklace. It's very large. It's very impressive, and it is owned by a New York collector. It was originally made for Linda Porter, Cole Porter's wife.
Oh, right. She had a lot of jewelry. She had
She
Seaman
did.
Sheps, and she had Flateau. Who else did she collect? Schlumberger, I think. She was
Yeah.
a great jewelry person.
She was, and she, I mean, it's a great supporter of Flateau, certainly. Yeah,
And how long did it take you to write it, did you say?
4 years.
4 years. And during that time, were you meeting people who owned it? What
Yeah.
did you do? Owned his work?
Yeah, it was a lot of just, I was looking at past auction catalogs to
right,
find,
right.
pieces that had sold in the past. I was looking at people who had collections. I was looking at, for example, Marlene Dietrich and Joan Crawford owned his pieces, so I would go back and look at biographies of them and see, was Flateau mentioned, and watching films that Flateau jewelry appeared in.
Who were his contemporaries? I think Seaman Sheps was.
Well, actually, Harry Winston was just a mere diamond dealer at that time, and they did a lot of business together, but Harry Winston wasn't as big then. Tiffany was in business then.
They all seem to borrow from each other, though. The same kind of designs. When you go through the Flateau book, you see things that maybe David Webb would have borrowed from different people from that era. These, surprisingly, are called little compacts, I guess, and they're not real.
Yeah, these compacts were made in the 1950s after Flateau got out of prison, and he really wasn't able to use any of his fine diamond or gold suppliers anymore because nobody wanted to do business with the ex-con.
And why did he go to jail?
For grand larceny.
Because he
So-
was taking those jewels and...
Exactly, because he had financial problems and he was borrowing jewelry from other jewelers and then pawning them for cash to keep him afloat.
Did he sell other people's things? And
He had such cachet and he was such a charismatic salesperson that a lot of jewelers would lend things to him to sell because he could sell them for higher prices. But he got himself into a lot of trouble. And
did he have a personal style? Was there a personal thing that defined Paul Flateau from those other jewelers during the 40s and 50s?
yeah, he had really three main influences. He was very interested in surrealism, which was just kind of starting in Europe at that time. So there's a lot of Flateau pieces that are hands or kind of disembodied parts and had kind of a surrealist feel to them, and with that touch of whimsy. You don't see that with some of the other jewelers of the era. Another thing he did...
More artistic in a way.
Yeah, yeah, very artistic. And then the other thing that he did that was very different was he was very influenced by the 19th century and the kind of all-white naturalism of the 19th century court jewels. So you see a lot of big floral pieces. So they're almost disconnected. One, he's kind of looking towards the future, and then in the same kind of collection of jewelry, he would also look towards the past.
Right. It was all artistic. What I meant was it was more artsy with the surrealism pieces. It was really more of an art form than artistic, because everything he did was so artistic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And these pieces?
These are the costume compacts from the 1950s that he was making after his prison.
Are they signed?
They are signed.
But they're not real. They're not even 14 karat gold?
No, nope. They're just base metal and rhinestones, and yep, they're not real.
They're fantastic.
Yeah, they are very collectible on eBay now.
Are they? He was a great designer.
He really was.
And I'm so glad that you did the book because there, I guess, was never another book.
No.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thanks for watching this part of the show. We'll be right back with Edward Menrose. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. I'm here with filmmaker Edward Menrose, who was born and raised in West Virginia, completed his undergraduate studies at West Virginia University, and earned an MFA in film at Savannah College of Art and Design. His first job was on a Disney film. Did that give you the hands-on theory and work that you needed?
No, to be honest with you, that seems like a lifetime ago to
me. Oh,
it
didn't?
I mean, it did, but I've worked on several films before that and worked on some films after that.
What was that? How did you learn to be a director and also to be so economical? Because I think that's what the big thing is with your work.
Well, actually, working on that Disney film taught me to not be economical.
They had no way economics.
I would say what taught me to be so economical is literally growing up in a very rural, blue-collar region of West Virginia, and everybody does things hands-on. So if you want to make films where I come from, you're not going to go rent a bunch of equipment at Equipment House. You better be able to make your own equipment if you want to produce those type of images.
Make your own equipment? How does one make their own equipment?
It's out of necessity.
Is that right?
Yeah. If you if you want to emulate Hollywood and have a crane shot, and you don't have the income to rent a crane,
so what do you do? What do you do?
You go to Ace Hardware and you buy your materials, and you get the smartest people who you know, and you get everyone into the room, and you start developing cranes.
Is that right? You made your own cranes?
We've been making our own equipment for about 7 years now.
Well, if you can make your own equipment, why can't you rent it out to other people who can't afford to make their equipment?
Well, with this feature film, that's something that we're trying to do down the road is, put it like this, the age of technology has allowed these wonderful little cameras to be small in size and very inexpensive, but technology hasn't really helped with the equipment. So the equipment is very costly. So I guess what I've proposed, or what we did with our film, is we just built our own equipment at cost. So, I mean, we built a crane for $250 that can go 60 feet.
That's incredible, isn't it? Because how much would it cost to rent a crane?
I mean, at least $50,000 maybe.
Is that right? There's that much difference in this stuff?
There's a massive difference in this stuff. We built our own Steadicam, we built our own dollies and tracks. We built anything and everything you would need to make a Hollywood-looking picture. But we've been developing it literally for 7-8 years.
And who is we? Do you have the same people working with you so that they know what they're doing?
All the people who work with me have nothing to do with the film industry. They're just blue-collar laborers. So I'm the only filmmaker knowledge, so to speak. So I just tell them what I'm looking for, what I have, and I sort of sketch it out for them. And then,
So you can do that with anyone?
Of course.
You can do that with anyone who knows how to do that?
I would say that if you put Hollywood in West Virginia, we'd be the best set builders in America.
That's interesting, but do you think it just has to be from West Virginia? I mean, people in Los Angeles...
People in Los Angeles should do it. They'd save a lot of money on their productions, to be honest with you.
Well, that's really... It just seems like so incredible because of how you're talking and the economics of it all, that other people haven't looked into it.
I would say that it all has to do with my blue-collar roots.
Is that, it's all with you, I see. Did you act at all?
No, not really. I'm not into acting so much. I'm more into the writing and creating of the image.
So you did this short film.
It's a feature film,
First you did a short film, right?
Yes,
Birthday Bar?
Yes, I've made several short films.
Why do you make a short film? And it has gotten a lot of festival play, right?
It did have a lot of festival play.
Yeah. What was it? Or what were they? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, what we did, it was interesting. I made it back in Savannah, Georgia, where I went to college, and we rented out a horse barn, literally, and built a set. And it's a restaurant called Galaxy Pancakes. It's like a fantasy restaurant for little kids. And the birthday boy is about a boy turning 5 years old, going from a baby to a boy. And whenever, it strikes 5 o'clock and he becomes a boy, he doesn't know how to communicate with babies anymore. So it's really just sort of manhood, becoming from a baby to a boy.
And how long was it?
12 minutes.
So would you take that theme and expand it and make a feature film?
I actually want to make a children's television show based off it.
Something else. So
Yeah.
there's all different reasons for making these short films.
100%. Like it's all something that will lead to something in the future.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Did it lead to directing feature films, or did it lead to a TV series, I guess, is what you're talking about?
I have not tried. I've created the idea, but I've never tried to push the idea yet.
You have a company called Emphatic Films, and
Yes.
Does that produce all of these, or make films with, say, Hazard and Deposition and Birthday Boy? These are all films you've made?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. On micro budgets.
Yeah, we spent
or
to be
macro,
to
maybe even smaller.
To
right?
be honest with you, we spent more money on the short film, The Birthday Boy, than we did on the feature.
Well, let's talk about the feature.
Okay, it's called The Deposition, and it's about a guy and a girl leave a wedding reception. They get into a car wreck and she dies. And now it's a year later and it's getting ready to go to court. So you're hearing 5 different point of views of what happened. And everyone,
the deposition.
And through depositions.
Did
yeah.
you write it?
I did. I wrote, directed, produced, edited it.
And saved money.
Yeah, we spent literally. I would rather have people see the film first, then I'll tell you what the budget was afterwards.
Yeah, because it's always amazing when we see somebody's feature film and then they go, oh, the budget was $40,000 or the budget was $100,000. And we're going, how did you do that, But by building your own Steadicams and cranes and all that, I guess you can.
Yeah, but we've been building our own equipment for so long, like it's just
part of the production.
Yeah,
And where was this taken? Because you work in Appalachia, right?
I work out here in Los Angeles. I do freelance writing and editing, but we made it back in Appalachia. I mean, all of my films that I want to make are back in Appalachia. That's where
Appalachia. Sorry, we
It's
say
it? No.
Appalachia. What is Appalachia?
To be honest with you, on the one side of the Mason-Dixon line, the northern side, it's Appalachia, and on the southern side of the Mason-Dixon line, it's Appalachia.
So you're on the Appalachia side.
I'm on the Appalachia side.
Oh, you are on the Appalachia side.
But the filmmaking community is more on the Appalachia side.
What goes on there? Where is it?
I live in the northern panhandle part of the state, which is an hour and a half south out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
But what is that area? Is it a city? Is it a mountains? What is it? Because people talk about it. And why does it have such notoriety?
Well, I don't know if it has too much notoriety.
Well, we
outside
know
of
about
me.
it.
Appalachia, to me, I grew up in a town of about 4,500 people called New Martinsville, West Virginia. It is essentially Mayberry.
Yeah.
Literally, it's just a beautiful little main street, 360 degrees, rolling hillsides around you. It lays right on the Ohio River. It's paradise.
So that's Appalachia.
That's Appalachia.
So it's it encounters a whole area of little communities.
Okay, Appalachia in general is West Virginia, Virginia, Kentucky, some southern parts of Ohio.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, and some in North Carolina. So that is the region.
The region, okay. And there's a lot of stories that go on in that region, I guess.
Yes, there is.
Because of the people who live there?
Yeah, it's just a part of America that less people explore, and you really have to be from there, and that's where my heart's at. So that's what I want to express and tell those stories for the rest of my life.
So how did you cast? Did you cast Deposition?
I did. I brought 2 actors from Los Angeles, and literally it was a 107-page script, and we cut out 90% of the dialogue, so I didn't have to rely on some of the locals who aren't stellar actors. It's all about protecting them.
Oh,
and
you
protecting
use the locals too.
I've always used them for my short films and everything. Look at it like this. I can make a movie in LA for no budget and have amazing actors and no locations.
But no location.
Couldn't build my crane. We couldn't have a production office. We couldn't have those things. So I've always chosen to film in Appalachia, then have amazing actors. So the day I get to actually bring amazing actors back to Appalachia, everything will click, and how I see it is everybody will see what I've known for quite some time.
So what you've known, but
Yeah.
no one will buy into it yet until...
Well, I mean, I've slowly but surely.
Yeah,
how I
that's
look
what
at
I
it.
mean.
Like
You
it
have
really
to-
took me. Excuse me for interrupting. It took me from. That's why I didn't get to develop my short film so much, because it's a TV show, and really I have to make that first feature and get that out of the way, because it's a completely different level from making a short film to a feature film.
Was Witness a short film?
Actually, Witness at Hawk's Nest is a story that I was just hired to write the screenplay with the author. It's a feature film.
So that'll be on the horizon?
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, it will be on the horizon.
So what do? You write the script then?
I
That's what you'll do?
co-wrote the script with the author of the novel, Dwight Harshbarger.
And will you direct it?
I'm crossing my fingers, but it's going to be a rather big budget film, and once they get, sort of A-list actors involved, who knows?
That was my next question. You're so into micro and macro budget films. Could you direct a big budget film? I mean, would your heart let you do that?
Oh, my heart would let me, and I think that it would be 100% easier. If you give me a little bit, I mean, my goal is for someone to see what I do with nothing, and then if you actually give me something, what I'll do with it. So, I mean, I don't want to only make micro budget films. It's just what I've always had to do, because I'm not writing for a market. I'm not trying to write like your Hollywood generic horror movie or comedy movie. I'm really writing these rural dramas that take place in Appalachia.
But so you're bringing notoriety to the region.
I hope that I am. I mean, hopefully I'm bringing notoriety. That's how I should stand out.
And
like
you're creating jobs in that area?
Yes, yeah. Hopefully I can create a lot more jobs, and hopefully, down the road, a lot of, wonderful things can happen.
Eddie, you've been amazing.
Thank you, Joan. You've been amazing as well.
Thanks so much. And thanks for watching the show. Keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles, 90017. And we'll see you next time. But email JAQUINN1 at AOL. Thanks.